More than 12,000 years ago, long before the first cities, long before writing, long before metal tools, human beings gathered on a quiet hill in what is now southeastern Turkey. They did not come to live here. They did not farm here. They did not bury their dead here. They came for a reason we are still trying to understand. This place is called Göbekli Tepe. Its name means Potbelly Hill. At first glance, it looks unremarkable. A gentle rise in the landscape, stone and soil, wind passing over dry grass. For centuries, no one suspected that beneath this hill lay one of the most important archaeological discoveries in human history. In the mid-1990s, excavations began to reveal massive stone pillars carefully carved, deliberately placed, and arranged in large circular structures. These stones were not crude. They were shaped with precision. Each pillar stands several meters tall and weighs many tons. Some are carved with reliefs of animals, lions, boars, snakes, foxes, scorpions, and birds. There are no plants, no landscapes, no humans depicted directly, only animals and symbols. The first question archaeologists asked was simple. Who built this? Radiocarbon dating provided the answer. Göbekli Tepe dates back to around 9,600 BCE. That makes it more than 12,000 years old. To put this in perspective, Göbekli Tepe is older than Stonehenge by about 6,000 years, the Great Pyramid of Giza by more than 7,000 years. It was built at a time when humans were believed to be simple hunter-gatherers. According to older models of history, people at this time lived in small bands, moved constantly, and lacked the organization to build monumental structures. Göbekli Tepe shattered that assumption. This site required planning, coordination, labor, knowledge of stoneworking, and shared belief. The next question naturally followed. Why was it built? Göbekli Tepe is not a settlement. Archaeologists found no permanent houses, no ovens, no storage rooms, and no evidence of everyday domestic life. What they found instead were large ceremonial enclosures. Each enclosure is circular or oval. At the center stand two massive T-shaped pillars facing one another. Around them, smaller pillars form a ring. The T-shape is not accidental. Many scholars believe these pillars represent stylized human figures. They have arms carved along their sides, hands resting at the front, belts and loincloths. If this interpretation is correct, then these are not simply stones. They are beings, not gods in the later sense, but powerful symbolic figures, possibly ancestors, possibly spirits, possibly something else entirely. What is clear is that Göbekli Tepe was a place of gathering. Groups of people came here, likely from wide surrounding regions. They brought food with them. Animal bones found at the site suggest large feasts. Wild gazelle, cattle, birds. This was not daily eating. This was communal ritual. Now we arrive at one of the most important questions. How did they build it? Göbekli Tepe was constructed before the invention of metal tools. No bronze, no iron. Stone tools were used. Flint chisels, stone hammers. The limestone pillars were quarried nearby. Archaeologists have found partially carved pillars still attached to bedrock. This tells us the stones were shaped on site. Moving them required hundreds of people working together. This alone suggests a level of social organization previously unimagined for this period. But here is where the story becomes even more important. Göbekli Tepe may explain why agriculture began. For decades, the accepted story was simple. Humans began farming. Farming created surplus. Surplus allowed cities. Cities allowed religion and monuments. Göbekli Tepe reverses this order. It suggests that belief came first, that ritual came first, that the desire to gather, to worship, to perform ceremonies may have driven people to settle and eventually farm. In other words, religion may have created civilization, not the other way around. Evidence supports this idea. Nearby regions show some of the earliest experiments with plant domestication. Wheat, in particular, appears very close to Göbekli Tepe. Feeding large groups regularly would require reliable food sources. Agriculture may have emerged, not from necessity, but from ritual demand. Another question arises. Why animals? The animal imagery at Göbekli Tepe is consistent and deliberate. Predators dominate. Snakes, lions, scorpions. These are not prey animals. They are powerful, dangerous, symbolic. Many scholars believe these animals represent forces of the natural world. Others suggest they may be clan symbols, totems representing different groups. There is also the possibility that they reflect a cosmological system, a way of understanding life, death, and the unseen. There are no farming scenes, no harvests, no peaceful domestic images. This is a world focused on power, danger, and transformation. Now let us address one of the greatest mysteries. Göbekli Tepe was deliberately buried. After centuries of use, the builders filled the enclosures with tons of earth and rubble. This was not destruction. The pillars were not smashed. They were preserved, carefully covered. Why would a society bury something so important? There are several possibilities. One is ritual closure. The site may have completed its purpose. Another is social change. As agriculture took hold, belief systems may have shifted. New gods, new rituals, new centers. Göbekli Tepe belonged to an older world. Rather than abandon it, they honored it by returning it to the earth. This act alone speaks of deep symbolic thinking. It was not forgotten. It was intentionally laid to rest. As we slow the pace now, consider what this means. The earliest monumental architecture was not built for kings, not for empires, not for power over others. It was built for belief, for gathering, for meaning. Göbekli Tepe shows us that humans have always sought connection to something larger than themselves. Before writing, before cities, before history, they gathered beneath the open sky and raised stone toward it. In the next part, we will explore what Göbekli Tepe tells us about early human psychology, symbolism, and how this place connects to later religions and myths. For now, let the image settle. Stone pillars, quiet rituals, firelight flickering in the dark, a hill holding secrets, patiently waiting to be remembered. As night would have fallen over Göbekli Tepe, the hill would not have been silent. Fires would glow between the stone circles. Voices would rise and fall in low tones. The smell of smoke and cooked meat would drift across the plain. This was not a place of sleep. It was a place of focus. To understand Göbekli Tepe more deeply, we need to understand the people who built it. They were not primitive in thought. They were not confused wanderers. They were observant, patient, highly aware of their environment. Hunter-gatherers lived in a world where survival depended on reading signs, the movement of animals, the changing seasons, the position of the stars, the behavior of weather. Their minds were trained to notice patterns. Göbekli Tepe reflects this mindset. The placement of the enclosures is not random. Some align with celestial events. Certain pillars may reference specific stars or constellations. This suggests early astronomical awareness, not science as we define it today, but symbolic observation of the sky. The sky mattered deeply to early humans. It was the source of light and darkness, of seasons, of mystery. Many scholars believe Göbekli Tepe functioned as a ritual center, where people attempted to connect the earth below with the heavens above. The tall T-shaped pillars stand like intermediaries. They are rooted in the ground, yet reach upward. This design appears again and again throughout human history. Obelisks, standing stones, church spires, minarets.
Göbekli Tepe maybe.
The earliest expression of this idea. Now let us address another question. Did people live here permanently? The answer is no. Archaeological evidence shows that Göbekli Tepe was visited seasonally. People came for specific events, specific times of the year. This suggests organized gatherings, not chaotic meetings, but planned assemblies. This requires leadership, not kings, but respected figures, elders, shamans, ritual specialists. These individuals would have guided ceremonies, interpreted symbols, and maintained traditions. Göbekli Tepe likely functioned as a cultural anchor, a place where stories were told and retold. In a world without writing, memory was everything. Stories preserved knowledge. Göbekli Tepe itself may have been a story made of stone. Each animal carving may represent a myth, each enclosure a chapter. Now consider the emotional experience. Standing inside one of the stone circles would have been overwhelming. The pillars tower above you. The carvings watch silently. The space is enclosed, yet open to the sky. This environment induces awe. Awe is a powerful emotion. It quiets the mind. It creates focus. It binds groups together. Modern neuroscience tells us that shared awe strengthens social bonds. Göbekli Tepe may have been designed to produce exactly that effect. Now let us move to another important question. Why was Göbekli Tepe forgotten? After it was buried, thousands of years passed. Civilizations rose and fell nearby. Sumer, Akkad, Assyria. None left records mentioning it. The knowledge of Göbekli Tepe did not survive. Why? Because history is fragile. When societies change rapidly, older traditions disappear. Agriculture transformed human life. People settled permanently. Property mattered. Hierarchy increased. Belief systems shifted. Göbekli Tepe belonged to a worldview rooted in mobility, ritual gathering, and shared effort. That world ended, and so the hills slept. Until the modern era, when archaeologists began excavation, they were stunned. Nothing like this should exist this early. And yet, there it was. Göbekli Tepe forced historians to rewrite textbooks. It demonstrated that large-scale cooperation predates farming. Complex belief systems predate cities. Symbolic thought predates writing. This brings us to a deeper insight. Human intelligence did not suddenly appear with civilization. It was always there. What changed were the structures around it. Göbekli Tepe shows us that humans have always been capable of meaning-making, of asking questions like, why are we here? What is beyond death? How do we relate to the forces around us? Now, let us slow further. Imagine walking away from the site. As dawn approaches, the fires die down, the stones cool, the hill becomes quiet again. Generations would repeat this cycle. Build, gather, ritual,
departure.
until one day they choose to end it. They fill the enclosures, stone by stone, basket by basket. They bury their own creation. This is not abandonment. It is intention, a final act of meaning. Göbekli Tepe was not destroyed by enemies, not lost to time accidentally. It was closed. That alone makes it extraordinary. As we come toward the end of this journey, we can answer the central questions clearly. What is Göbekli Tepe? It is the world's oldest known monumental ritual site. Who built it? Organized hunter-gatherer societies with advanced symbolic thinking. Why was it built? To gather people, to perform rituals, and to express shared belief. Why was it buried? Because the society that created it changed. And what does it mean for us today? It reminds us that the roots of civilization are not purely practical. They are spiritual, symbolic, social. Before humans built cities, they built meaning. Göbekli Tepe stands as quiet proof, a reminder that even at the very beginning, human beings were thinkers, storytellers, and seekers. Now imagine the hill again, covered in earth, holding stone circles beneath, patient, waiting thousands of years to be seen again. And as your thoughts slow and your breathing steadies, let that image remain. Ancient hands shaping stone, a shared purpose under open skies, the deep, calm truth. That humanity's story is far older and far richer than we once believed. And with that understanding, the hill returns to silence. And so Göbekli Tepe remains, quietly resting beneath the earth, a reminder that the human story began not with walls or kings, but with meaning. Long before written words or settled cities, people gathered to look beyond themselves, to mark their place in a vast and mysterious world. The stones still stand where ancient hands placed them, holding questions rather than answers, inviting us to slow down and remember that curiosity, belief, and connection are as old as humanity itself. And as the night grows quieter, we can let those stones return to their silence, carrying their secrets gently into the dark, where history rests and sleep can follow.